So welcome, everybody. I hope you're having a lovely day today and you enjoyed listening to Matt this morning talk a little bit around some of the fantastic announcements that came out today. So actually, I was listening to the keynote this morning, and actually today I want to talk you all through a bit of an adventure that we started on together about 9 months ago. And that adventure really started off with a why not, as was talked a lot about today. And like many of the talks here over the next couple of days, we're going to talk a little bit around an AI journey. But this AI journey has a little bit of a twist to it. So when we talked again, I think Matt talked about this morning, but many people from AWS talk about how they always put the customer first. The customer always comes first. Actually, what we're going to talk to you today is that's procurement as a service that we've driven as a community approach. So we put the community around procurement first around everything we did as well. So before we get going, maybe we can do some quick introductions so you know who you're talking to. My name's Seb. I'm a partner. I work for Deloitte, and I've probably spent the last 20 years delivering data and AI programs. And as you can probably tell from the accent, I live at the other side of the pond in London. And today I'm joined by
Sebastian, nice to meet you all. Good to have you. Hope you had some good lunch. Seb, Sebastian, we're absolutely trying to confuse you. But no worries, we're not running on shared credentials, so no security risk. So I'm part of the Roche family. I'm heading up the digital procurement practice at Roche, based in Basel in Switzerland. And for those who don't know Roche, Genentech, the brand we operate here in the US, we're one of the largest biotech companies, $70 billion annual revenue, 100,000 employees, and we focus on two divisions, so pharma, creating new medicines, and diagnostics, so companion diagnostics, testing devices, glucose monitoring, and so on.
Cool, thank you very much. So it's going to get interesting when people ask questions later, which Seb you're talking about. Before we get going, I always like to kind of try and understand who's in the room. So I'm going to kind of ask you kind of a little bit around what your role is, and I'm going to try and see because the lights are quite bright. But could you put your hand up if you kind of sit within a procurement function or if you're a procurement professional at all? Okay, got a good couple in the room here, which is good. Folks that sit within IT? Excellent, so a lot of IT folks as well, so we know where the questions are going to be coming as well. Excellent, brilliant. Okay, so we're going to talk to you a little bit around what we've done with procurement as a service, and then I'm going to start off with a little bit around a bit of a survey to explain kind of where procurement is thinking in terms of the adoption around AI going forward. So, I mean, unsurprisingly for CPOs, so Chief Procurement Officers, pretty much everyone sees that AI is core to their strategy going forward. And we've seen this across every function there really is across an organization. But we're seeing kind of key areas of value being unlocked for it. And what people are seeing is around the kind of the big three really are around kind of RFX, kind of support, around kind of content and kind of contract kind of support as well. And then lastly, around the kind of spend management and optimizing spend. So they're the three kind of areas, and you can really understand how there's great value that can be driven from this as well. What was really interesting when we asked in the survey around why CPOs want to deploy AI, actually the top three reasons in descending order was, first of all, was around improved decision making. So how can we make better decisions to support the business? The second one was around increased productivity, and this just to give procurement professionals more time to do more strategic work, have conversations with the business, really understand the needs, and have that kind of business partnering. And then thirdly was around spend management. Now, this is really interesting because what I've seen in other functions across organizations is you normally start with things that will have significant P&L and measurable P&L impact as well. But I think this is very much driven by CPOs who want to really drive the digital agenda because it's quite a fragmented digital infrastructure within kind of procurement organizations. But alas, progress has not been where organizations have wanted to be. Again, I think a lot of this is down to complicated procurement, digital landscapes, access to talent as well, getting the right talent to really support some of these initiatives. And we can see a big difference between what we call digital masters as one cohort within the procurement function and kind of followers as another cohort as well. And then lastly, a lot of it's been around prioritization of capability and use cases, but also prioritization of funding as well, as something else that we've seen that's kind of really held folks back. And I won't go too much into that because now I'd like to hand over to Sebastian to talk a little bit around, as a digital master, as an organization, to talk a little bit around their journey and set up a little bit around how our conversation started probably 9-10 months ago.
So global procurement is just coming out of a organizational evolution. And we're defining our new procurement strategy, our digital strategies, and we like to win. So what you see here on screen is our win formula, as we call it. And actually, the slide has changed since we started to put it together. We're now putting talent first. So talent times digital creates excellence, and excellence then allows us to do more value partnering. But let's digest that. So talent, we have really smart people in the organization, but we need to make sure that we keep investing in them and that they focus on the right activities. Digital, that's how we need to bring the right tools, the right solutions to these colleagues and to our talent. So that is, if it's a strategic activity, making sure they have assistants, co-pilots, we really enable accelerated, enhanced decision-making, create new insights, more productivity, etc. So digital times talent creates that excellence. Excellence is when we have more time to eventually have more value partnering. But what does that mean? We're in procurement usually focusing on there's a demand and we bring some supply to the demand. But we want to move beyond that. We want to co-create solutions with our stakeholders to eventually create greater impact and greater outcomes for the organization. So our win formula, we want to win. If you move on to the next slide. But we have to deliver. And we had really notable initiatives underway. But at the same time, especially when it comes to Gen AI, our list of opportunities was getting longer and longer. IT had the smart idea to come up with something they called the lean business case or the lean intake form. You can imagine how lean that was and how long it took us to go through it. So eventually, we're in constant competition against other functions in the organization and often falling short against the R&D function, for instance, which is understandable. We're a research-driven organization, so we have to make sure we keep coming up with new innovation, new medicines. But at the same time, we have to make sure we create that excellence and value partnering from the procurement organization and eventually have a larger enterprise impact. So working with IT was just a very long, tedious process. We were able to make some good pilots, but new features, scaling these solutions took a lot of time. And it felt like working, and I'm German, so I can say that working with the German bureaucracies. So there was a lot of reasons for not doing things and not moving along. So when we move on to the next slide, eventually what we did is we redefined our approach to AI capabilities. So we're mainly looking at 3 pillars now. So the first one is what we call everyone, or every day for everyone. So that's really our Google Workspace, the Notebook LMs, the Geminis, etc., targeting all of our 100,000 employees to focus and enhance effective work in daily operations. So targeting everyone, very generic use cases. When we get more procurement specific, the second pillar is what we call built-in AI. So these are agentic AI capabilities embedded directly into our SaaS solutions that we use for sourcing, for contracting, etc. And then the last one is what we call procurement-specific AI solutions. That's really what we believe we can reshape how we do business in the organization. So these are very customized solutions that are built specifically for that use case, trained with data on that use case. And we do it either internally, working with IT, working with custom GPTs, etc., or we work with external partners. We really want to drive our own roadmap and shape what we believe is the right thing to do going forward. So we partnered a lot with startups, co-created solutions, but we also ask ourselves the question, we have a lot of challenges on some of these, what we call microservices. You don't need a lot of data product, but we have ad hoc activities, contracts, sourcing events. We just need some insights, some co-pilots, some assistance. And there must be other corporates who face a similar challenge. So we discussed and started reaching out to Deloitte, hey, is that something we want to work on together?
Cool. Okay, thank you very much. So, as Sebastian was just talking a little bit around driving value with AI, you really need a kind of comprehensive strategy. And Sebastian just talked a little bit around how Roche have thought about this. And he kind of like extracted it a little bit to kind of think around, as an organization, how do you think about extracting value and kind of what are the pros and the cons of each part of the strategy, right? So if you look top left, the first thing is around sweat the suite, right? So if you have some of these large or kind of existing technology in there like Cooper, et cetera, you already have it installed. You just wait for some of these capabilities to be enabled so you can start to drive value from those. The challenge here is you don't know when sometimes those kind of capabilities are going to be delivered by these organizations. And frankly, there's often a lot of opaqueness around actually timescales as well. So you could wait, but you don't know how quickly and how long that's going to take. The second one is around actually buying best-of-breed technologies, so kind of smaller kind of capabilities that really drive the kind of new digital and AI agenda for procurement organizations. Again, these tend to be startups or smaller organizations that are more nimble. They have kind of lots of technology and capability coming to the forefront. But actually, you tend to have to buy a number of capabilities together when you actually buy some of these as well. So there could be existing overlap with existing systems you have. So how do you deal with that? How do you train the talent to know when to use the different capabilities at different points of time as well? So that's kind of another thing. And actually, if you look at, again, some of the digital masters, as I talked about earlier, around that cohort, they tend to kind of focus quite a bit on the best-of-breed capabilities. You now move to the bottom left-hand corner. You've got custom development. So Sebastian just said, and I think many of others have seen this, is sometimes building your own can take a little bit of time. You have to get the right talent. It has to get prioritized across the organization. So we've talked quite a lot across different organizations within procurement. And as Sebastian mentioned, often procurement is a little bit down the priority list when it comes to accessing that talent, because you put it in R&D or commercial, selling more products, depending on what industry you're in, often gets a lot of the focus as well, because it's around making a movement on your top line or your bottom line. And then the fourth one, which is, as Sebastian talked about earlier, was around something that we've kind of we've moved forward, actually, and it's around AI as a service. So can you actually essentially rent agents or AI for very specific micro use cases that is guided analytics or guided AI, guided workflow that drives demonstrable value that can be seen and measured within productivity, other things, and can actually be very, very, very quickly scaled across the organization. So again, very rapid deployment, don't need access to talent, no technical debt as well, because one of the things, my mind is blown monthly on this topic, and it was amazing to see all the fantastic technology that was just released today. And I know there'll be many, many more coming from AWS over the coming months. It's just moving so quickly. So also, how do you not incur too much technical debt? So you bring those kind of four things together. And for those of you who kind of live in the procurement world, we kind of start to talk about it, if you think about it visually, around how do you start to plug the digital digiproc puzzle, basically. So you may notice that, you can read, it's probably big enough, you've got the different areas of procurement, source to contract, procure to pay, supply management, orchestration, and you can see those kind of layered across this puzzle piece. And every procurement organization has a different set of things that are filled in depending on where you've made your bets with technology. And some of that is evolving and is lined up to the strategy we talked about before. But what we've noticed and what we've seen is that there are always gaps, these puzzle pieces that can be filled by these kind of specific use cases that can be quickly deployed, that do not need integration into existing systems, and again, can drive that value to organizations really, really quickly. So our mission was to really kind of go about how do we start to fill in those gaps, and how do we fill in those gaps in a way that drives value across multiple different organizations. And this comes to procurement as a service. For those of you that it kind of does what it says on the tin, if anyone's familiar with Ron Seal, which as an advert, but it basically provides a number of different AI services, AI capabilities, agents, as you may want to call them, as a service that you can rent. So again, going back kind of 9 months when Roche approached us, they looked at that kind of digital puzzle and they couldn't find any way of actually filling those gaps with the other parts of the strategy, and that's why we started the conversation.
And maybe it's also, I think, when we look at our landscape and you have these different pillars that Seb talked about, a couple of years ago, we also started on a very decentralized, fragmented landscape, then moved on to implementing a source-to-pay platform, which really enabled us to get onto one backbone, and was the first time we really had all of the spend on one single instance, which then enabled us to further complement and bring additional best-of-breed solutions, bring additional capability, and really make sure we enlarge or enrich the ecosystem. Then moved on into a new area, which is now agentic AI. And when it comes to AI as a service, it's not about what if, but why not? So let's show them more.
Yeah, I like it. So again, we started to pull this together, and there's a couple of kind of key things to think about when we're kind of designing the solution. The first thing, and the thing that is most important in my opinion, is that it is designed by the community, procurement community, for the procurement community. So we'll talk a little bit later around actually how we've created a cohort of procurement professionals that are driving the design, driving the prioritization of the work that's being done. The second thing is, we often talk about it's like a little bit like gym membership. You can easily sign up, you can get access to it very quickly, you can start using it, and actually, for any reason you want to kind of switch it off, or you decide to go to another gym, or you've implemented another part of your strategy, then again, it's very, very quick to kind of to switch off as well. So that's kind of really some of the kind of core tenets to how we've built it and why we built it. So now we've talked a little bit about it, we're going to run just a couple of demos just to show you a little bit around some of the use cases in action, just to get a bit of a flavor. But remember, this is designed for the community, by the community, and it's really around how do you support and drive that kind of self-guided capability that allows really quick and really easy adoption by procurement professionals so they can start to execute and realize value straight away. The clicker has been a little bit temperamental, so hopefully this is going to work, but you have to bear with me a little bit. So the first kind of demo we're going to talk a little bit around is around contract comparison. So I want to compare my contract to a contract template to see any variances. And this is something that a sourcing manager would do. So as you can see, we've just gone through a bit of a demo where we've uploaded the contract. We've uploaded the template as well. And now we've kind of got the results that come through. And you'll see there have been 9 specific meaningful variations that have been found. And you can see they're ragged actually around how risk it is to party negotiations. And you can see that actually as part of them, it also gives you recommended text that you can go back and make your changes to. So again, really helpful, self-guided, and changing something that is a very, very, very manual piece of work into something that is a lot quicker as well. And actually, part of the piece around, working with the community as well is there's also the option at the bottom to provide feedback. So if things haven't quite worked or you've got some suggestions, that goes back into the tool and it learns, which means it gets better and better every time you use it. It gets better and better every time other procurement organizations use it. So it starts to drive that kind of self-learning and learning going forward as well that will continue to increase and drive value across the organization. I know, Sebastian, from a procurement professional point of view, do you want to give us a bit of a view around the value it means to you and your teams?
Yeah, so we have two main use cases when I think of this specific service. So first one is I have an MSA contract that is up for renewal. It's reached the end of the term, and now I have to renew it. And I don't know to what extent it has changed, or if it has changed at all against my playbook, my latest template. So I have a quick way of comparing, and especially if we move away from dedicated contract managers to more like the entire sourcing workforce to do this. What has changed? Can I just renew it, or do I have to implement additional clauses? The other one is supplier sends me their template, and I want to compare, can I sign this, or to what extent does it differ to our own template? So it really gives me quick insights, and especially when I'm also more junior, I'm not as an expert, quick insights, what are my actions, what do I have to do, what do I have to focus on, and where do I potentially need to seek support from a more senior or even an attorney in the organization.
Which obviously increases the throughput of the organization, how it can work with the business, and again, frees up time to drive more strategic conversations with the business as well. The second use case is also around contracting, and it's actually a really popular one. Although, again, a good, simple kind of use case, and it's around payment term scanners. So again, you'll see, and it's often the case that as you go through different amendments and variations, that the payment term sometimes gets updated. So here you'll see, again, another guided example where the MSA and all of the amendments that have come through afterwards are all loaded up into the system. And then you will look through and it will essentially order them all in terms of lineage around dates to give you that kind of, to give you the kind of the lineage around all of the changes come through. So you get an opportunity to, again, look and check that everything is there, it's been extracted in the right way, and it's actually been ordered in the right way as well. And then next, once you're happy with that, then you move on, and it comes and gives you some analysis around the payment terms and any changes there have been over here. And I think from memory, this one has changed from 60 days to 90 days as part of one of the amendments. So you can do two things with that. You can obviously go and update your master data if you want to, or you can go and use it as part of your negotiation with the supplier as well. And again, you can see how this is done very, very quickly, and again, will drive that kind of speed to value. Sebastian, again, do you want to give us a bit of a context around how you use this?
We work a lot also with big holding companies like yourself, Deloitte, other consultancies, but also on the R&D side, large corporations, and we have multi-year contracts. There are lots of amendments that come in over time. Sometimes amendments are also done at a local level, so it's really difficult to understand, okay, what is actually the latest payment term, and are we actually also realizing the value from what is the latest term that was negotiated, or is it just on paper, but we're not turning it into action and realizing the value. So understanding quickly across all of these documents, what is the latest term, and make sure we're fully operationalizing it is super helpful for us, and again, frees up a lot of time for the sourcing manager.
I guess working capital as well, if you can catch some of these things as well, which is always a good thing.
Of course. Cash is key.
And then the last one, which is the one that I'm most worried about, to be honest, and I'll tell you why that is in a minute. But this one's around kind of RFX summarizer, and I'm saying that because it's more just because of Deloitte as well. So this is really good for buyers who have actually put out kind of RFPs and want to help quickly review some of the responses. So again, I'll just run through a very quick demo that shows what it looks like, and you'll get a view around what it does as well. But essentially, it allows you to quickly summarize oh, sorry, I didn't think it was loading. Anyway, doesn't seem to be working now. There we go. So it allows you to get a bunch of different documents from different suppliers and allows you to ask questions and then get those summaries across all of those different kind of assessment criteria that you have as part of your process as well. So you can think a lot about the power and how procurement organizations and buyers can help support and have conversations with the business when often there are very large kind of responses that come through when you're looking for kind of key specific information as well. And again, as you'll see in a bit, once you've loaded all of the different documents from the suppliers, and it could be multiple documents per supplier as well, it allows you then to start asking different criteria that it goes off and pulls out. Again, this is important. It gives you a nice summary that you can start to then publish to the business to start to make a decision and start to kind of move through the decision-making process, understand where you need to really kind of pressure test some of the different responses from different suppliers as well. And you'll see there's the opportunity here to export it, so you can then send it around to different parts of the organization, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So another good example of a simple use case that drives significant productivity savings through a kind of a guided AI, kind of guided agent kind of approach as well. And again, at the bottom, there's the opportunity to provide some feedback to the tool, again, so it continues to learn as a community-based approach.
Especially for us, and if I think R&D, time to market is critical. Really making sure we get with the product on the market as soon as possible to also help patients that are in need of these medicines. The faster I am in understanding these different responses from the suppliers, and I can negotiate and I can sign the contract, the sooner I can get into execution. So for us, it's really key to generate these insights, and we have created lots of insights, quick turnaround, really got a lot of appreciation from these different stakeholders who more and more understand procurement as that key stakeholder and partner rather than a bottleneck, and I have to go through the process and it takes forever until someone comes back to me. Really generating super amazing insights, but also lots of savings opportunities and take costs out on these large deals.
Cool, thank you. So there's three of the kind of use cases, as it were, that just to show you a little bit. So we're on a journey. We started this conversation, said, about 9 months ago. We decided to embark on this journey together, and then we started to recruit other procurement parties as well to be part of a pilot which we've been running for essentially the last 6 months, and we're now looking to kind of move it into kind of general availability. And we have one of those organizations is Deloitte, so we're actually using it ourselves, so which is always good to see that we're putting the trust in using these tools and seeing value from it as well. But as well as Roche, we have kind of Astellas, Fresenius, and a couple of other organizations that are all kind of onboarded, and Sanofi as well, using that tool and moving it forward. As you'll see, we have 10 use cases now, like you've just seen, in production, running, and being used. And we're continuing to kind of build out the next set of use cases as we go through into going forward. And you can see a little bit around what we're doing coming forward as well on the screen as well. We have a commitment where we're trying to deliver an extra 2 per month. So we're continuing to build out different use cases we go through. So I gave the gym analogy earlier. Essentially, you're buying membership to go to this gym, but every month, you're essentially getting 2 new pieces of equipment. So, we started off with quite a lot of stuff around contract because it's where Roche wanted to kind of prioritize. So you think about that as like building your upper body. And now we've moved into payment terms. Maybe that's like starting to build your legs up a bit. But over time, for no increase in fee, for nothing else, you start to get access to more and more equipment, so you can do a whole body workout at some point, if that makes sense. So you can see where we're starting to go with this. And again, the thing that's really, really important is, again, it's driven, prioritized by the community through kind of a steerco, and it's that community that chooses where to go. And again, the more we get in, actually, the more pace we can start to go in the future as well. And the vision for this, we started off, again, very self-guided, is to offer this as agents that can be called through orchestration workflows as well, as people start to build that out within organizations, which is something that we're starting to see organizations embark on as well. So a little bit of a taster of what is coming going forward. But I thought we may want to just talk a little bit around some of the value that we see in the buckets of value that we're seeing being unlocked by this kind of approach.
And if you remember what I talked about, the win formula, create excellence to then unlock value for a greater partnering, that's exactly what we want to do. I want to free up time of our organization so that I can reallocate it through these productivity gains to other areas that are in demand and coming up more and more, be it risk, be it sustainability, or generally into the digital team, et cetera, but free it up from sourcing, from contracting activities that are still happening in a more old-fashioned way of working. So productivity gains that I can either free up capacity and reallocate it in the organization, or productivity gains, and then I can realize some FTE saving if I have to, if I want to. But also on the other side, generating a lot of insights in a quick turnaround so I can also take cost out from my supply base. Insights, productivity really improves what we want to do, and you see the hours that we have listed down here, pretty significant. And if I multiply this, we have around 300 contract managers, 50,000 contracts. There's a lot of value that I can tap into here.
Great, thank you. So I've talked a little bit around the community approach, but I wanted to kind of bring it to life a little bit more around how do we actually prioritize and some of the kind of some of the things that we need to be true for these use cases. So if you look at the top, you can see the kind of I guess it's a purple, the fundamental design principles. Like a use case to be brought onto the table has to meet these fundamental design principles. And it's these fundamental design principles that are put in place to allow us to scale fast, but also to enable clients to access this very quickly. So the first piece is around actually not having it integrated into the client systems, because actually the hardest thing to do is starting to plug it into different organizations, data lakes and different data parts and existing digitech as well, because that's the stuff that takes time to do. So we want to move fast, we want to be agile, and we want to realize benefit quickly per organization, because everyone's a little bit different. That is one of our fundamental principles at the moment. The second thing is it can't be community member specific, right? Just because if Roche serves something that's very specific to Roche, but it's not going to serve anyone else, then the answer is no. It has to be something that drives value across the procurement landscape. So they're kind of some of our design principles. The second one is around market demand, which is a pinky color, I guess, around the bottom. As you can kind of see, that's a little bit around, is there kind of demand in the market? Are other people already doing something similar? So is it worth going into that and competing? Because actually what we see is these micro kind of services so far haven't had a huge amount of competition. And then the last one, which is kind of circled around where the community inputs is there demand across that whole community? So back again to, it has to be something that drives value for everyone or a large majority of the community. Even though everyone has slightly different priorities, everyone will have a view around whether someday it could be of use for them as well. And then the last one is around feasibility. And again, this is really important. Speed to value, agility, we want to make sure that we're picking off things that are feasible to kind of implement. So one of the things we look around is complexity to build, to kind of, again, maintain that kind of speed through the development life cycle. And then, again, the two things that we ask and we kind of work with the community to deliver is around the available of SMEs, for those of you who don't know what subject matter experts, because, again, we want this to be designed by the procurement professionals that sit across the different organizations. So it's highly specific to procurement needs. And then the second is around actually just getting access to data. So as you can imagine, there's a bit of work to be done to make sure that the solutions are driven around the right data as well. So there's some of the kind of key principles. I don't know, Sebastian, if you've got any kind of comments being one of those participants?
Yeah, for us, the community aspect is really key. then when we started the conversation, we thought internally and discussed internally, there must be other corporates who have exactly the same challenges as we have them, facing internal delivery with IT, but having also a lot of these microservice challenges and opportunities. So that community aspect, really bringing it all together, we benefit, or we kind of think the contracting use case, what we put forward. So we pick 2 or 3 use cases. We provide the subject matter expertise. We work with Deloitte on working and fine-tuning that, but at the same time benefiting from all the other use cases. So we tap into that large pool of use cases is key, and it happens at a pretty impressive velocity. So really allowing us to focus more on adoption. Tech is not the problem anymore.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think actually many of the community have really enjoyed working with different organizations, learning, making friends, expanding their network. And I know that they continue to kind of talk with each other as well, and that's been very, very valuable because a lot of these use cases are not competitive advantage. It's around driving some of those kind of productivity insights as well. And then we talked a little bit around kind of the flow earlier, around some of the kind of principles, but one of the things, and actually one of the things from the CPO survey that's really interesting is that one of the biggest barrier that CPOs, internal barriers and external barriers, is around data and around security. And again, to allow us to move fast, onboard clients really quickly, we've really built the solution with data protection and security at the heart of it as well. So you'll see from the key that actually there isn't a huge amount of data that is stored within the solution itself. It's processed, the output is created, and then it kind of is kind of removed as well. Again, this helps with getting it onboarded across different organizations. The piece that is retained is around some of the kind of repositories that are managed by organizations. So if you've got a contract template, for instance, that you're going to use over and over again, you don't want to keep uploading that as a great example. You want to keep that there as well. But again, that is under full control of an administrator that is assigned from each of the different organizations. Again, I've talked about no integrations. There's no integrations into client systems or anything like that. It is that kind of non-integrated solution. Again, that often causes many questions around security and things. So again, allows us to move much faster and much more nimbly as well. And being Deloitte, we've obviously gone through all the penetration testing, the ISO certifications, etc. That are wrapped around this as well. And again, happy to share any more information with anyone who wants as well. So really built with that kind of data security in mind to essentially drive faster value for organizations. And as we get to kind of wrap up, so you can start thinking around some of the questions, we've got 2 more slides. You probably heard and will hear a number of different kind of talks around actually how do you drive investment and value from organizations. Again, I thought it would be nice to hear Sebastian talk a little bit around some of the learnings that Roche have had from this and other things that they have done within their procurement organization.
So when we started our journey, a lot of people talking about AI, but absolutely having no understanding of what it actually is and what it does and what it does not. So we didn't talk the same language, and we're setting completely wrong expectations, what can be done at this point in time and what might take a bit more time. So it just created a lot of noise, confusion, and was distracting us from really making impact and making it quickly. So AI, you need a completely different engagement model than how you might do it with other SaaS software solutions. And bringing back the gym, we probably all agree that doing some exercise is the right thing to do. We might have registered for the gym. We might be going to the gym. But then we might never return because it's so painful the next couple of days. And that's the story. That's the end of it. So actually, when do you get back to the gym? When you go with a colleague, when you have some coaching sessions, and when you know how to do it, and when you see the first things and how it improves your body. So you see the benefits of going to the gym, and exactly the same is true for AI. You have to see the benefit that it brings to you. And also, I think we need to talk the same language, literacy. So what we did is we engaged on a company-wide upskilling journey, 6-week program, but really small cohorts, right? To the coaching sessions or going with a friend to the gym. So 25 people only, really hands-on use cases tailored to that specific cohort to make sure we all have a base understanding of what AI is, what it's not, and what we can do with it. So upskilling, literacy, absolutely key, but you need to engage differently than you might have done before. Comms is not working. But then also, don't overwhelm the organization. We're launching a new use case here every other week, which is absolutely fantastic. But at the same time, when it comes to driving adoption, really pick a few that are relevant to you and to your organization. So you might go to the gym again, and you see all of these tools and machines out there. You don't go left, right, center, and use all of them in a day. You get a plan, and you use 5, 6 machines. You have a couple exercises you're going to do, and exactly that is true also for starting with AI. Pick a few, learn how to use it, adapt it, and then pick a few other ones next. But don't launch it all. It's not about launching features and AI solutions to overwhelm the organization, but really you want to make an impact. You want to focus on some, and you really want to adopt them and realize the value. And then the last one is share success. Really get the colleagues who are using these solutions to talk about it. Just don't do good stuff, but also talk about it. When we talked about identifying these cash opportunities, we bring people to town halls to really talk about how they benefited from it. Why did it matter to the colleagues? How did the business partner or the stakeholder appreciate the turnaround time, the insights you brought to the table, the value you realized? So really make it tangible and start talking about it.
Great, thank you. And actually, we released a survey recently around the ROI of AI. And I think we talked about 2,000 execs. And the two key things that were common around organizations that were able to really drive measurable value was one was C-suite sponsorship. So having someone on the C-suite evangelizing and driving that value. But the second, as Sebastian talked earlier, is really, really important. It's around dedicated and mandatory fluency programs, AI fluency programs as well. And it's not just around how to use the tool, but it's thinking around scenarios when you shouldn't use AI, what the gray areas, like what the patterns you can use within your day job and things like that. So starting to think about above and beyond just actually how you use an application. And then coming to the kind of the final slide, a little bit around the kind of the what's next or the kind of the ask, I guess, is we're looking for more people to come and join the community. We've done through our pilot, we limited to 6, we've successfully come out of it. Now we're looking to drive more community members to get access to the solution to essentially make it better for everyone. There's actually 2 ways you can get involved as well. So the first one is, as we talked a little bit earlier, around kind of a subscription access. It's about £20,000, British, a month to get access to it. And you get access to all those use cases and the ones that grow in the future, right? And that's where we're looking. So you can see it's a small amount of money to get access to these use cases, and that will drive, ROI. It allows us to kind of scale faster. But the other way is actually just be part of the community. We're looking for people that don't want to have access to the solution just yet. Maybe they want to do it a little bit later, but want to join the community. They want to learn, increase their network, learn from what others are doing that maybe they can take back inside as well. So they're kind of 2 different models that we're looking. So if you want to find out more, if you want to have a conversation, I'm around. So you just email me on that, and then you can come and find me. I'm kind of here till about Thursday, I think. But if you want to kind of connect up with us after reInvent, then use the Procurement AI email address, please. And happy to share more information, happy to kind of have a conversation and go into a little bit more detail as well. And I think we have 15 minutes now for questions, and there is a microphone that is roving around the room if anyone has any.